Hey everyone, welcome back to Spiritual Journey. My name is Colleen Jorgensen, and I've been a little absent the last month as flu season has been moving through with me. And hopefully, if any of the rest of you have been experiencing that, I hope you're on the fast track to wellness now. So I still have a little scratchy throat, a bit of a cough here and there. So just bear with me. So we are November is another busy month. There's a lot happening in November, and astrologically there's been a lot happening. Many of you could have felt or are feeling like you're kind of walking through some sort of slow motion video of yourself, that it's just like a groundhog day and everything is just repeat, repeat, repeat. And that you're not really moving forward to a great extent. And that's because of some of this new energy that has come in with Uranus and Gemini. It's really fast paced, don't get me wrong. But it still seems like we're kind of like on the verge of something. We're waiting for something, but we just don't know what that something is. Pluto also is in the early degrees of Aquarius. So that is also really fast paced energy, but it's still kind of like we're feeling kind of off. And we backtracked with Saturn and Neptune now, Saturn at 25 degrees and Neptune at 29 degrees. So we could still, we're kind of feeling like we're ending something or hoping that something ends, and that we're just not quite sure what is coming forward or what we even want to come forward. So that can be a little bit of a dilemma for some of us, feeling like we're kind of stuck and there's things on hold. So the full moon is the second of three full moons that are super moons. And that means there's more energy as the moon is closer to the earth. And that makes us more emotional. There's more intensity in a way into how we're portraying ourselves. So that emotion and that ability to connect with other people on a very psychic, intuitive level is really high with the supermoon. This moon lands at 13 degrees of Taurus. So if you have any planets that are connected to this Taurus, the opposition would be Scorpio. We would have a square to Leo, and we would also have a square to Aquarius. So this is a time where it right across the board is Scorpio. So we're really dealing with those financial issues across this board in the financial houses of shared resources, what we owe, our debt, and then the banking system over in Taurus, and our ability to earn an income and buy those essential supplies that we need, or our home, shelter, those types of things, becomes really, really prominent. Where are the resources? These can really stand out in the United States of America, because Taurus would land in the house of investments, and holdings that they have and what they're investing in. And of course, we all know that the Congress, everything, the government of the United States is pretty much shut down So this raises a real concern with money and resources and stability and shelter for the people, because the moon is the people, and who is holding the purse strings, or who's got all the money here. And in Canada, this full moon is going to land in the eighth house of uh, investments and people investing in our country. And that would fall into these agreements, tariff agreements, diversification into and with other countries other than the United States of America. And it really signals a shift in Canada because the moon is going to align with Pluto, which is at 15 degrees of Taurus in the Canadian chart. So that really says there's some big changes in the wind here for the Canadian economy. And Scorpio at the other end is the dependency that Canada has on the income that comes from these investments with other countries as well. So even in your own chart, wherever Taurus lands is going to be significant, could be beneficial for those earth signs such as Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. And that there is maybe a little more stability or comfortability there, which can help or assist. Now, the moon is ruled by Venus, and she's at 28 degrees of Libra, and that would certainly indicate that there's a bit of out of balance here. There's something that needs some balancing. She is just past her opposition to Eris, which is discord and things being shook up personally. So there is quite a bit of imbalances that are going on, especially in terms of connection with other people and who owes who money and who needs to do a favor for somebody else. It's really challenging. These relationships are really challenging when it comes to these resources, and this could play into the Canadian economy with those tariffs or renegotiations and inroads into other countries to create that balancing effect that needs to happen where agreements come into play. And I'm not quite sure if Canada is really making as many headways into these agreements with other countries as one thinks. I kind of sort of think that it's kind of moving in the reverse direction. So if you're having trouble making some connections with other people, trying to put some deals together, definitely that definitely could be a challenge happening there because everything is a little over the top because Venus is in square to Jupiter, and Jupiter is in the sign of Cancer, and Cancer, of course, is the land, the housing, the real estate, all of those types of things. And it's really hard, I think, to come to some sort of consensus, not just maybe in the house of finances or financial issues, but in just terms of making a deal. Everything just gets a little blown out of proportion and a little bit unrealistic because the moon is ruling Jupiter and the cost of living there. So that to me is associated with the Page of Swords. This is fresh, new information coming to light, perhaps from other countries as well. And some new information starts to filter in that could definitely help the situation if you're in that situation. that you're having trouble negotiating that. So this plays into, for example, if somebody's building a house or purchasing a home, some of this new information that is filtering in can actually help you or assist you to mitigate some of that off-centeredness where one side is gaining and the other side is losing to sort of create that balance. The same if you're having a dispute over land or land issues, because Jupiter, of course, deals with justice and the judicial system. So there could all obviously be some components there of fresh information that comes to light that kind of gets you through some of those issues. If you're having trouble with your mortgages or house payments or things like that, this also comes into play as well. And investors, possible investors. So it can be a little bit challenging to some degree this full moon. And full moons bring awareness of things out into the open that we go, oh, and then we're really, because it's a super moon, it's really quite challenging as well. Now, Uranus is sextiling Neptune. Now, Uranus is it's going to be stationing at the time of this full moon, and it's going to slide, or it's stationing, it is retrograde, but it's going to be preparing to slide back into Taurus on the 8th of November. And it's going to come into its complete sextile with Neptune. And both of these planets are at the anaretic degree of 29 degrees. It's a precarious degree, and it signals that things are kind of on the edge. We're so ready to move on, but we can't because we have unfinished business that needs to be attended to before we can possibly even do that. In the world events, Taurus, of course, with Uranus there, creates these abrupt shifts in currencies, precious metals, those types of things that could be sort of ready to ready to shift or move into a different direction. The sextile bodes well, though. So some of these things, like Neptune at 29 degrees, which rules the oceans and oil, and at 29 degrees, the birthing of something new to emerge, even in the pharmaceutical or the drug industry. And with Uranus there, the rapid acceleration and on that edge of Gemini of technologies and AI is going to be like the internet, how it unfolded and exploded in the 1990s. So this is an opportunity that we're not really completely aware of because of Neptune, but it's accelerating at a very rapid pace. Now, there's some kinks here that need to be worked out, maybe some governorship or something that needs to take place. And so, therefore, that's why we're rolling back here, and maybe investors that are coming on board to accelerate some of these new technologies. And that really takes some strength here. We have to, with that new information that's coming on board, we really need to put our boots on the ground and really stand in our own space and get control of our situations, obviously. There could be some hardship with that strength card to say that you got to stick with it, and it might be harder than you think. And this also plays into that Venus, the relationships that we have. Who can we align with? Who is supporting us? How can we gain that support? And she's in this yacht with this sextile between Uranus and Neptune. So we can really see a yacht is like it's destiny. The fates have stepped in and said, this is what's going to happen. So we could really see some profound destiny between agreements and different countries and the agreements that people are making with different countries. Canada, both Canada and the United States. And the agreements, especially that the higher up government in the United States is making with certain individuals that perhaps we're not aware of just yet. But the wheels are turning and destiny's at play, and there's very little doubt that that's going to not happen with this yacht. So definitely I pulled the Wheel of Fortune. So things are definitely changing in unexpected ways that we perhaps are not aware of. If you're looking for that breakthrough, stick to your guns, combine yourself with the people at this full moon that will give you the best stability and alliance, and it will change the course of destiny here. It will change direction. So we really got to watch out for our money. And we have to really be cognizant of the markets on a bigger, larger scale of what is transpiring. So that is really important. So although we have a lot of these planets that are going back and we're finishing up, Jupiter is at 25 degrees of Cancer, and Jupiter is going to go into retrograde here, and roll back as well. And we made some mistakes, or we could have made some mistakes along the road that we're being challenged with right now. So just, don't get stressed. Just try and work through those mistakes that you made. Try and get some clarity at this full moon with those mistakes. But we have to backtrack a little bit here and find our grounding and positioning. Now, Mars is the planet of action. It's the planet of, let's go. So Mars has been traveling through Scorpio, and Scorpio is always, let's dig deep, let's find the answers, let's get to the heart of the matter. And now Mars, as of this full moon, as of yesterday, or it's going to be on the day before this full moon, that all of a sudden Mars shifts into Sagittarius. And Mars says, okay, we can't I've done all my research. I can't go any further. I'm going to seek out the law. I'm going to seek out the courts. And I'm going to find the answers through the legislation or the laws. Doesn't mean that you're going to go to a lawyer, but maybe you need to know where you stand, and how you can position yourself strategically, because Mars is a very strategic planet, and put yourself in the right position here in order to gain the upper hand. And of course, this Mars is in the 12th house of the United States, which would indicate there's back room negotiations going on. Deals are being made back there. Strategic positioning is being done back there as well. And Mercury is flying through that 12th house of the United States. So a lot is happening behind the scenes in the United States, and what and where perhaps their military is going to go next. And there could be a reconsideration because Mercury is going to station retrograde. So a rewriting of the plan, more research, more delving into the issues. Do we have the resources to pull this off? And can we manage this situation strategically? And in Canada, that is the going to happen in the fourth house of our charts. So that definitely could bring about uh, some negotiations, possibly, and some agreements to come forward for Canada. But also, Mercury is back over in the second house of financial stability and shared resources. So, is Canada overspending? What do they need to do to rein in some of that spending? And are they wasting money? That's what that Mercury retrograde it really expresses to me with that going back into that deep sign of Scorpio. We have this competition or competitive um, card here of the Five of Wands. And this really says there's a lot of competition out there, and you're really going to have to, at this full moon, be competitive and um, and be on top, be awake with everything. We have Saturn and Neptune still very close to one another in the sign of Pisces. We have to really watch out for flooding with both of these planets in the sign of Pisces. And the North Node is in the side of Pisces. And I kind of feel like some of this washing away with this flooding is really going to change the landscape here with this full moon and the moon in Taurus and the investment we have to make for that infrastructure, housing, those types of things, which could be really challenging. And I almost feel like that is what Neptune and Saturn are doing. They are really washing away, clearing out, and cleansing Mother Earth Gaia, in some sense, that she needs to clean up. And so that is what she's doing here. Uranus also here, even though it's sextiling Neptune and Saturn, which brings opportunity for change with these floodings and all of this water, change in the oil and gas industry, change in the way we treat the oceans, and the way we treat each other compassionately. And then is sextiling to Pluto, which is now in the sign of humanity and Aquarius. And all of this, of course, is producing a lot of change that needs to take place. So I kind of feel like this Neptune Saturn is just really, Mother Earth is just sweeping away um, all of all of the garbage. And here I have the Seven of Pentacles, which is sort of standing back and looking at things, and where do we want to put things now? Like, where do we want to invest things now? And how do we want to put this in order? And what is left? What is left there after this big deluge of all of this oceanic water that is cleansing the earth? And in many cases is a very, very emotional, heartbreaking for the people who are experiencing it. So that is a significant thing. In Canada, this Neptune and Saturn is landing in the house of the employee. So now we have a great big deluge, really, of teachers going on strike, Canada Postal Service on strike, and many unions standing up and saying, we need to support our fellow union members. And it is a deluge of a restructuring of the way we actually work in Canada, which can be very positive in many ways. But I think we're kind of stuck in this thing right now where we're not quite sure how we're going to deal with that. And so this card, standing back and reevaluating our position, or our assessing what we can do next. So that is important for the world and where Canada is going and the United States is going. I just want to talk about Donald Trump for just a minute. Donald Trump has a very interesting chart. He was born during an eclipse, and he was also born on June 14th. I believe it was an eclipse. Maybe it was just a full moon. Um, but he was born on June 14th of 1946. And he was born at 10:54 a.m. in New York. And he has an interesting chart because he has 29 degrees sitting in various positions in his chart. And I just mentioned that both Neptune has moved back to 29 degrees, and Uranus is moving back into 29 degrees of Taurus. Now, the one that's going to hit him the hardest, I think, is Uranus at 29 degrees of Taurus, because it's going to square his ascendant. And that is his physical body, his presentation to the world, and how he's functioning as the president of the United States. And Uranus also is going to backtrack and it's going to come into an inconjunct with his fifth house of investments and how he's spending and what risks he's taking. And so that can really, it's squaring his seventh house as well, which means that there definitely is some disruptions with alliances and people he depends on. And there could be a little bit of shifting that happens during this time. As we head through November, from November 8th onward until the middle of December, and then again in April. And this could actually affect his health. And so just keep an eye on what Mr. Trump is doing. But I think the whole world is keeping an eye on what Mr. Trump is doing. I pulled this seven of swords, and it reminds me there's a lot going on here. There's a lot of negotiations with Mr. Trump and President Trump, and there is a lot of things he's holding in the air, a lot of ideas that are perhaps ready to be implemented. But there's also a lot of secrets that are going on, things that we aren't aware of, that he's kind of keeping tight to his chest. And there's a lot of activity here, a lot of balls in the air, a lot of swords in the air, and a lot of negotiations and agreements and things that are happening during this full moon. So we need to be cognizantly aware of that. So Mercury is going to go retrograde. So we all know what that means, that we are already in the shadow of Mercury retrograde. And Mercury will station retrograde in November, on the 10th of November, the 11th of November. And what's interesting, that's always a review. It's in Sagittarius now, but it's going to roll back into Scorpio come the 19th of November. And we know that Mercury retrograde is always about the past, what's in our rear view mirror, and that we're ready to get down to business and resolve some of those issues. But when it goes back into Scorpio, we may have to really take a good hard look at information that we have perhaps missed, and we may have to go back down into the trenches to figure out some of that information. And that is with everybody across the board. If you're having some trouble, if you're dealing with the divorces, or just issues with land or issues with other people, that you may have to go back into the trenches here and kind of really take a new strategic look at things and maybe go in a different direction. So, wow, that was me for November for the full moon on the 5th of the month. So please press the like button and subscribe to my station. And we'll maybe do a little bit of horoscopes for you in a bit. So have a great night. Bye bye.